Okay, part 2 of the Fallout New Vegas game review. We're talking about glitches and bugs in the game in my con section of this review. A couple more I thought of while I was cutting this video that are weird but understandable. There's this one lady named Old Lady Gibson, and she's in a scrapyard somewhere, and she like does repair and stuff for you. There's this glitch where if you're in the Helios 1 power plant and you walk out the back door, sometimes she just appears sitting by the back door, just sitting on air. There's nothing under her. She's there. Sometimes some of her dogs are around her, and you can talk to her and buy stuff from her and get the repair, and she's just floating in air. Makes no sense, but it's livable. Why? Because it doesn't screw up the gameplay. You know, there's just some weird glitches like that, but you can deal with them. The ones that you can't deal with, the freezes and the quest bugs, because those screw you over. What am I talking about? I was playing the game the other day, and not even for like a ridiculously long amount of time. I'm talking like maybe 4 hours, 5 hours. The game froze, and I counted, completely froze up to where I couldn't get the PS menu up. I had to manually turn off the system. It froze 6 times in a day, in like a 4-hour sitting. Completely unacceptable. How did it freeze? Any way you can imagine. Walking around randomly in the wasteland, freeze. For no reason. Nothing happens, it just freezes. Going, like loading an area, you'll go and you'll see the loading screen, a little roulette wheel, and you'll sit there and all of a sudden you'll start thinking, hey, this is taking a really long time. Why is it taking so long? And you'll see repeat loading screens start coming up. The game's frozen. At least with that one, I've been able to pull up the PlayStation menu and quit the game through the PlayStation instead of having to like screw up my PlayStation by manually turning it off, which like it's like turning your computer off manually. You're just not supposed to do it. It messes with the game. It doesn't shut down properly. And that's really aggravating and bad for the system when you have to do it 6 times. So it freezes randomly, just walking around, it freezes while loading. It's obnoxious. The other thing it does is if there's a big battle going on, the frame rates will go to hell. Like they will jump off a cliff and just commit Harry-Carry. The frame rate, when that happens, it's just absolute. The game is unplayable because you don't know what's going on. And when the frame rates are going crazy like that, if you try to do anything, if you try to enter VATS, the game will freeze. If you try to bring up your Pip-Boy, game will freeze. You just have to sit there and wait for the frame rates to go back to normal if they ever do. If you die, oh well. You know. So anyway, when we get to tips about this game, I'm gonna expound on what you should do to help with the glitches and problems. There's a couple of quest bugs. There's a couple of bugs. I know the Brotherhood of Steel. There's a quest down there, and it involves talking to 2 people, and you can do one or the other thing down there. If you talk to a certain guy first and then the other guy, when it comes time for the big finale of the quest, the game freezes in that state, and the point of the quest, you have to go outside and wait like a couple of days and then go back in, and this big event should happen. Well, if you do something where you talk to some guy first, it will never happen. The big event never happens, no matter how long you wait. They keep telling you the same thing when you go back, that it's coming and you have to wait longer. It's bugged. The quest will not end, and it prevents you from being able to wear power armor in the game, and it prevents you from, at the end of the game, talking to the Brotherhood of Steel to try to get them on your side at the end of the game. So no power armor, no Brotherhood of Steel. You have to deal with it. You can't talk to them at the end of the game because the quest won't finish. I didn't run into that quest. I saw that happen on Dark Side Phil's playthrough, and I would be really pissed off if it happened to me. There's probably some other ones. I know there was one that happened to me. It wasn't even like a real quest. It was just one of those unnamed quest that's really a quest, and I kept going back and forth and I had to talk to this guy, and when I talked to one guy, the guy was running an illegal drug operation, and I was talking to an NCR ranger, and he said that if I could convince this guy I was talking to help work with the NCR to catch the people who were coming through and buying his drugs, they'd let him go. But he said to return to him when I've convinced the drug dealer to help them. I return to the drug dealer, there's no speech options to tell him. Nothing. I kept going back and forth. I waited a few days, kept going back and forth. There was never any new speech options. The game was bugged. You couldn't do it because, for whatever reason, there was no speech option there to try to convince him to help the NCR. So that never finished. I don't even know what the end of that was supposed to be. So stuff like that. So you have to have a lot of patience because there's bugs, there's terrible frame rates, there's long loading. The game also has a memory leak, which means that when you exit one area and enter the other area, the area you left doesn't completely unload and dump from the RAM in the console. So it stays there. So everything you've done since that PlayStation's been turned on is still stored on the RAM because it doesn't dump properly, and it just makes the load times gradually increase to the point where it's just unbearable at one point. So again, another tip I have to solve that coming up. Anyway, those are the pros and the cons. So now we'll get to the tip section. First of all, the biggest tip I can offer is what I offered earlier. Get the strategy guide. I don't need to talk much about that because I already did. It's worth it for this game. Buy the strategy guide. The other tip, with all the bugs, with all the freezing that happens, with all the crashes that happen, save. Save a lot. Now, something I saw in Darkside Phil's playthrough that he was doing that I don't recommend doing is having a bunch of different save files. I played through the entire game and had 3 save files and never had a problem. So he had like 40 and cut it to 15. I only had 3 and I was fine because more saves means longer loading. So save. You have to remember to save, and it's something that slips your mind because you're wrapped up in the game, but you have to. Remember though that when you go into new buildings where it loads or you fast travel, it does autosave. So if you've done a bunch of stuff and you haven't hard saved and the game freezes or you die, don't freak out. You're not going to lose all those hours because somewhere along the way, chances are, unless it was all in the wasteland and you never fast travel, chances are you autosave somewhere pretty close to where it froze. But still, it's a good idea to have a hard save on there because the autosave might include the glitch or bug that that caused the thing to freeze, and then you're screwed because your manual save is 5 hours back from where you are now. So that's another tip. Something I want to say that I haven't heard anybody say, and everybody I've heard says, well, you have to play the game at least 3 to 4 times to get all the endings and all the trophies. No, you don't. Do exactly what I did. There's a point in the game where you have all 4 endings open to you, the first quest that you need to do for each of the 4 factions. When you get to that point and you get to whatever level you want to do and you have those 4 first quests, save. Make a save file right there. And then you can go on and do one ending, get the trophies, and then you can go back and reload that save right at that point and then go do the other branch, and you can do that for all 4 endings and you don't have to replay the entire game again. I don't understand why people think that they have to replay from the beginning to the end 3 to 4 times to get all the, because you don't. If you just save at that point, the trophies and achievements are on the system, so once you get them, if you reload a save, you're not losing the trophies, you're not losing the achievements. So just make a save right at that point where you have all 4 options available and you're like level 30 or wherever you want to be and you're ready to go. Save right there, and then you can just come back to that same save and do all 4 endings, find out all 4 endings of the game, and get all of your trophies and achievements. As simple as that. You don't have to replay the entire game. That's something that never made sense to me. Anyway, so and the last tip I want to give to help with the memory leak problem. It's a good idea, actually it's probably going to be mandatory at some point, that every, I would say 3 to 4 hours, turn off, save, turn off your console, and let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes in order to let it dump its RAM. Because again, with the memory leak problem, if you don't do that, then the load times are going to be excruciating. You're going to get that frame rate problem a lot, and it's going to start screwing up. So every 3 to 4 hours, turn the system off, let it dump its RAM, and then turn it back on, and everything will go smooth. Believe me, I think consoles hate your guts for running Fallout New Vegas on them because of how many times you're going to have to manually restart it. It's unavoidable, and you know, I think your console wants to punch you in the face every time you try to play New Vegas on it. Anyway, last comment I have to say before I rate the game. Obsidian released the game too early. I'm going to say that right there. They should have waited a few months and tested the damn thing. What they released to us is basically the beta form of the game. They had the beta form and they were just like, you know what? No, forget it. We're not going to beta test it because we have to get this game out now. So we're just going to release it. So basically, in my opinion, what the consumer is playing is the beta version of Fallout New Vegas. And when they released the game, they basically released the first patch to the game like with the game. When you have to release a patch with the game, that should probably be a clue to you that, hey, you screwed up and released the game too early and didn't test it properly, and they still haven't released, you know, a good enough patch, in my opinion, to fix the problems. There's still problems all over the place. So, yeah, they screwed up. It's their fault that this game is like that. You can't blame the game. You have to blame the developers for freaking screwing up and pushing the game out before it was ready. Anyway, so that we can make this in 2 videos. The rating I give on this game, again, based on content and everything else, I would rate the game a 9.5. That's the rating this game deserves as far as content and the work put in by the designers on the content. It's excellent. I would give the game a 9.5, absolutely. However, I'm not going to do that. And why? Because of the bugs and the glitches in the game that screw people over and that take away from the experience. And because of that, I'm dropping an entire quality point off of it and making it an 8.5. The game is still a great buy. If you have patience and you can deal with it, get the game. It's really not that bad. You know, you just have to be patient with it and deal. I'm sorry, but I think the content is absolutely worth having to deal with the bugs. It's a pain in the ass, but I think it's worth it to get the game. It's absolutely worth $60. It's worth it for the strategy guide. So I give the game an 8.5. Again, it deserves a 9.5, but I can't give it that high because of the buggy, glitchy problems in the game. It's not going to get that high of a rating. So an 8.5 for Fallout New Vegas is definitely a good buy. I would definitely buy the game if you can tolerate the glitches. Other than that, excellent game, and I very much enjoyed it. Thanks for checking out the review. If you have questions, let me know, and if they're good questions, I'll try to answer them later. Thanks, guys.